Okay, today when I woke up, I had no idea we'd be back in the Silas series, but here we are, episode 6, Silas, a man of many words and a man of few words. And since it's been a while since we've been here, just take a look at what we've touched upon so far. Episode 1, we looked at the we statements in the book of Acts, and we connected those to Silas and not to Luke, and that's very important. Episode 2, we looked at Paul, Silas, and Timothy in the introduction to the Thessalonian letters. Episode 3, we harmonized a portion of Acts and the Thessalonians letters. Episode 4, we looked at whether or not Silas is possibly the Tertius that penned the book of Romans for Paul. I know that one's a little bit of a stretch, and I'm still wrestling with that myself, but worth the discussion. Episode 5, we buttoned up some loose ends. We talked about authorship of Hebrews. Was that Silas? We looked at Silas versus Luke, a theory that's out there that they're the same person. We came to the conclusion that they are clearly not the same person. And today, as I said, did not expect to be here, but here we are. Today's passages. Here's what it says about Judas and Silas as they're introduced in the book of Acts. It says, Now Judas and Silas, themselves being prophets also, exhorted and strengthened the brethren with many words. That's very important, that many words right there. And the author of Hebrews, it says, And I appeal to you, brethren, bear with the word of exhortation, for I have written to you in few words. So the question is, are we supposed to connect the dots here? And I think the answer is yes. I think the author of Hebrews is dropping some clues here. So the many words, could not the third gospel in the book of Acts be many words? And without a doubt, that's an understatement. That's a lot of words there. Few words, the book of Hebrews, that's what its own author says. So is Silas kind of trying to get our attention here? In my opinion, this is evidence of two things, that Silas indeed did write the third gospel and the book of Acts, on top of the other reasons that we touched upon in the previous episode. And I believe Silas also wrote the book of Hebrews. Tail of the tape, I said we were going to do this in a previous episode, but I never got around to it. There's a question here. Who is God more likely to have inspired to write the only historical narrative of the first century church that spans from the birth of Christ to the last 2 years of Paul's life? So we're talking almost 70 years here, and obviously we're talking about the third gospel in the book of Acts. Is it more likely that God would use Luke, a Gentile physician, or Silas, a Jewish Christian prophet? And then I know God can do anything he wants. I'm just asking likelihood here. But again, with all the evidence we looked at before, I'm pretty confident in Silas. So in closing, Silas himself was capable of speaking and writing in many words, and Silas was also capable of writing in few words. I hope you enjoyed that study. And as always, any questions or comments, let me know. Until next time, contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.